Hey, Coach, man, what time is it?
Oh, Slim, you know what time it is. 6 o'clock, straight up and down. It's HomeSpun Sports with Coach John Montgomery. Sports talk with a twist of down-home wisdom. Welcome. We are so glad you are here. You tuned in to HomeSpun Sports. It's sports talk with a twist of down-home wisdom. I am your host, John W. Montgomery II, a.k.a. John 2. And I'm right here in good old H-Town, Houston, Texas. For my ride or die, my show enough partner in crime, the last P in the shell, my baby boy. What's up, Slam? You welcome sit.
What's going on, Coach? How you doing, man?
Man, dog, I'm full of fluid, ready to do it because I'm used to it. Slam, man, we have a very, very special guest for show number 28. And I am peacock proud that he has taken time to be a part of our show. Slam, this guy has done it all. Hell of a high school player right here in good old Houston, Texas. Willow Ridge High School, star athlete, tight end at UCLA, drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, had a successful career in the NFL. But more than that, Slim, this guy has mastered the art of sports commentary. You can catch his podcast, Chopping It Up with Buck, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube, on Facebook. He's a pro's pro, and we are delighted to have him. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please make welcome our very special guest, Mr. Charles Arbuckle.
Hey, man, that was too good. Shoot, I need to come on here every day. I need to get gassed up. Okay, so before we start, you are Montgomery. My mom's maiden name is Montgomery. My people are from Appaloosa, Tucson. So, you know, my grandfather was Iverson Montgomery, all his uncles, and they since left Lake Charles, in Beaumont, but all that. And I thought about it when we were talking a few weeks ago. I said, I forgot to even ask you about that. So we, you know, and you're in Houston, where I grew up, man. So,
so what you're saying is it's a possibility.
Listen. Hey, the next time we have you on, I'm going to say, please make welcome my kinfolks.
Yeah.
I mean, after this, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Charles, man. We're just elated to have you on, brother. Man, I'm a novice at this, and I'll be the first to admit it. You know, I did the Jock Thing Prairie View way back in the day. I wasn't nearby good enough as you were to play this game for money. But more than that, my brother, you have made the transition from the gridiron to sports commentary. And, man, I listened to Chopping It Up with Buck. I've seen you on ESPN. I've seen you on NBC. Man, I mean, to grab that realm by the horns and succeed in it. Man,
not a lot of people can say that.
I got to tip my hat to you, bro.
Well, I'll say this. It's because I love the game. I mean, you know, when you grow up loving sports, I played football, basketball, and baseball. And my grandfather, who I was talking about, was a big influence in my life because I'd spent a lot of time with him when I was young. You know, he would take care of me when my mom was working. You know, after my dad left when I was about 12, and we're close now, but there was some distance between us. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, when they would be off work, and I'd go spend time with my grandfather, who, had polio, but he raised six kids. He was just one of those guys that was a great storyteller. Aberson Montgomery, we call him Papi. And I was close to both sides of my family. And what I remember about him is always telling me about the Negro League. baseball, because I grew up loving baseball first and foremost, and he would wax poetic. So if you talk about a great storyteller, I love stories. And when I first got into the business, it was always, well, you got to have a quick take. I said, life isn't about quick takes. It's about really letting people talk and letting them tell you who they are. And he was really good at that. And he was good at getting it from people, but also getting that out. My grandmother, his wife, died really young. Well, my mom was really young, so I didn't know her, but I've heard enough stories about that. My other grandfather loved sports too. If you were at his house, you were watching football. So I grew up, in families that were highly educated, but sports was pretty big in both of those families.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. One more question before we get rolling.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. I remember you at Willow Ridge. You Thurman Thomas's homeboy.
Yep. Thurman was a couple of years older than me. I actually played with Thurman, not in football, but in basketball.
Okay. All right. So now
I didn't play football till my junior year.
So UCLA? I mean, I know you could have gone anywhere and then the Southwest Conference. You could have gone anywhere in the South. Why UCLA?
I went out there for an AAU basketball tournament when I was in the 7th grade. And I had family out there. So we had, my grandfather on my dad's side, a lot of his family was in Pasadena and, South Central LA and Inglewood and all those areas. So I would go when I was young. And I went to an AAU basketball tournament when I was in the 7th grade. Man, I stepped on that campus. Boy, oh man, it was beautiful. I always said
that's nice to say, Coach.
Yeah,
Westwood player, Slim.
Yeah,
Slim. You see some stuff out there at Westwood. It's a honey watch.
Hey, look, Coach. You never heard me say this. It is the land of milk and honey.
Yeah,
you almost feel like it's manna from heaven, man. It's so beautiful. It's just the beauty of
all them, Charles. All them woods. Brentwood, Hollywood, Westwood. Look at Slim. That's high dollar, brother. That's high dollar living.
It's high cotton out there, like we say at home.
Hey,
but when I got there, and then when I was getting recruited, I was recruited by a lot of schools. Actually, the first school I got a letter from was Grambling. I can remember that. Eddie Robinson, Coach Robinson, and I know my mom has it somewhere. I kept that letter because it was so important. I didn't go to a HBCU, but I knew, I grew up in Texas, so TSU, Prairie View, all the SWAC.
Yeah.
You know about that growing up. You go to the games and, you go to halftime shows and you watch the step shows and you're around all that. But it was awesome to get a chance to fast forward to get recruited. I was recruited and the schools that I decided on were LSU, Miami, Stanford, Notre Dame, and UCLA. And Coach, I probably was recruited by, I don't know, 50, 60 schools, because at that time, I was recruited all across the country. And I'll tell you why. Being a blue chip player in Texas, they have the 100 list, and lo and behold, I was a lucky number 7. So I figured I wasn't too bad of a player.
There you go.
And
So Charles, I heard you mention stories, and it kind of brought me back to country music, right, Dad?
Yeah.
Stories, right?
Yeah.
Now we got March Madness. It's here, Charles. My bracket is shot to hell. I mean, I didn't have Kentucky losing, especially to St. Peter's. No. Come on now. I mean, what's your take on what's going on in the tournament?
Yeah, my bracket is done. But the one thing I'm happy about is UCLA playing North Carolina. That's going to be a good one. I have a vested interest in that. Having been out there and watched those guys ball, we used to actually, ball with them and beat them up a little bit to get them tougher. But the thing I like about it is that they're starting to peak at the right time. I don't know if Jaquez being out is going to hurt them.
That boy Jaime Jaquez. If he's healthy, he can carry a team.
Yes, he can. Yeah, Johnny Juzang seems like he's trying to get healthy, but you lose one. I'm going to tell you, North Carolina, I've watched them all year, so I'm familiar with North Carolina. When they're not on, they're easier to beat, but they have played the last few games, man. Other than that little second half slip up against Baylor, they're going to be a tough team to beat.
Charles, I sat there and I know you watched the Slim. We just talked about it earlier in our meeting, the Michigan State Duke game.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a football guy, but to me, that looked like 5 guys that just made up their mind they wasn't going to let that old man go home.
I know.
That was determination.
Yeah. You know, Coach, you know as well as I do, when you get to this point in the season, it's win or go home. You know what I mean? It's not you don't really have anything else to hold back. You got to leave it all out there. And that's why people ask, well, why are these guys crying? And why, man, you put your heart in something and you don't get to the level where you want to, I can understand why. I mean, it's just, you leave it all out there. It's hard not to show emotion.
Yeah. I've been following this thing, and you know, Auburn, Bruce Pearl's team. And I tell you what, and I want your opinion on this, Joe. I want your opinion on this, Joe. Is there a better coach team? Is there a guy getting more out of his team right now than Kelvin Sampson's doing over here in Third Ward with his guy, with the U of H Cougars?
Hey, Coach, I said that today. I'm a big Kelvin Sampson fan. And the reason why, if you've never been to Houston, and you guys know this because you live there, Trey Ward or Third Ward has improved, but there's a certain element of toughness, you know, in Third Ward. The guys from Third Ward always thought, you know, Third, Fourth, and Fifth Ward, you kind of like, you knew. But Trey Ward has always been one of those places where it's just a tough-minded group, hard helmet wearing.
Come on now.
Just tough.
Come on now.
And, you know, I think George Foreman's Boxing Academy was over there. I mean, there's so many things. If I think about Houston and I think of Third Ward, I'm like, I didn't grow up there, but I knew enough cats from Third Ward.
Listen. Hey,
shout out to the alma mater.
Hey, me, Slim, and Andrea, my wife, we go Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church.
Oh, I got you. Okay. I got to take
right across the street. Right across the street.
Wheeler, wherever. We right across the street from U of H. So I know exactly what you.
So Charles, I want to talk about who is in your Final Four, because after last night, I still have Gonzaga winning the tournament, but Memphis sure enough gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, the only two that I really kind of have left is or would say have a chance to get that deep were Gonzaga and Arizona. I think Arizona's got a really good opportunity this year to make some noise. You know, they've been a team that I've watched against LA, not only now, but even in the past. But this year, those brothers are balling. So, you know, I'm going to tell you, teams like over this year, they just look different. And they know how to peak at the right time. So my brackets are busted. My bracket was done after the first 2 games. But I just started thinking about teams that are in a position now where they're starting to peak at the right time. Those two seem to be, you know, 2 teams that have a real good shot. Yeah.
Charles, you know, Arizona might be talented enough to unseat Gonzaga. They might be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gonzaga got in the tight last night against Penny Hardaway, and they went to feeding their big guy, that Timmy kid, and they fed the big guy, and he went to eating.
Yeah,
he went to eating.
But I'll say this: if Duke keeps playing like we saw tonight with that certain toughness, you know, and that's what Hubert is preaching to North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina now started to say, look, we don't want to be considered, you know, the guys in powder blue that are soft. You know, that was an this year. They had a lot of that, and I think Hubert has changed that dynamic. And I think that's important if you're gonna get deep. I don't want them to beat UCLA, but I'm saying as an analyst, I look at it and say, who's going to be the best team and who can play the best ball tonight.
I tell you, I like Kelvin Sampson if they can make their shots.
I agree. Yeah.
If they can shoot the ball. Another thing now, I'm gonna tell you something now. Watch Bruce Pearl and them Auburn Tigers. If they can make their shots. The key with them, they got to make their shots.
Coach, this is the first year I can remember in a while where you have 8 to 10 teams that if any of those teams win, besides the 2 that we know, like we talked about earlier, there's some teams this year that could win this whole thing, and we would say, okay, yeah, I can see that. I'd say about 8 teams, which you don't normally have going into this stretch of the season, especially with Baylor getting knocked out, with Kentucky getting knocked out. You know, I think that really, to me, is a big difference, guys.
You mentioned Kentucky. In your opinion, Charles, does Calipari survive this?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Maybe he's put enough in the bank account, but you can't lose like that. That's a tough.
Not in the first round.
Not in the first round.
Not Kentucky. Not in the first round.
Yeah, it's been chirping for a little bit, but this gives people a lot of ammunition now. I don't know. It's going to be interesting this offseason.
Now I tell you something, Slim. That boy Sheenan Holloway, the head coach at St. Pete, Charles.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah.
I like I like him a lot, coach.
But Charles, you know he's a Seton Hall grad, right?
I did not know that.
Sheenan Holloway is a Seton Hall grad, Slim, and the head man at Seton Hall gonna take the job in Maryland. Now, does Sheenan Holloway get the job at Seton Hall, his alma mater?
Yeah. Because I mean, that's a March Madness favorite.
Yeah.
That's a March Madness. That's a March Madness favorite over St. Peter.
Well, hey, look, this we know. Now, he done sent Kentucky home. He done sent Murray State home.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting paid.
Yeah. The man that made he's moving up on the radar. No question. So hey, Charles.
Yes, sir.
Who cuts down the nets in the Big Easy?
You mean who? The whole thing? Who wins it all?
The whole thing.
I'm going Arizona right now, guys. I don't know. There's something about Arizona that I like about their plan, and not because I'm a Pac-12 guy. I just think they have the makings of it. Gonzaga I like, but I just think there's some flaws and some guys that they don't have that they had in the last few years. But I'd go Arizona to win it all. I mean, the brackets are already busted. I might as well just
you might as well go for the crazy ones, right?
But sentimentally, I love Houston to win, especially with how we had 5 Slamma Jamma and we lost to North Carolina State. Had those opportunities when that team was really good and haven't been back there since. So sentimentally, I love to see Houston get there.
Okay, all right. Charles, we're gonna while we got you here. We got this NFL free agency, the trades going on. What's your take on that, Charles?
Yeah, so Deshaun Watson Russell Wilson seemed to be the first domino, right?
Yeah.
Russell kind of was the first one, and then we see that happening, which I'm happy for him. I think it's a great move for Denver. Drew Lock going to Seattle actually is a good move for them. I think Drew Lock was in a bad situation at Denver. Maybe he can be coached with a different staff. I'm not saying he's going to be the next thing since sliced bread, and it's hard to come after Russell. I think he needed a change of scenery. But Deshaun Watson, I mean, that's the biggest news because you and I mean, we talked, Slim, I talked to your dad, and we were like, hey, it looks like Atlanta or New Orleans, and I really thought that was a done deal once he decided not to talk to Carolina and kind of next Cleveland. But I think Cleveland is a good place for him, simply because the weapons that they have.
Got Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
they're ready to go right now.
I don't like ownership, but I like what they have on the field. So if they pay them all that money, they're ready to kind of go all in. And you guys Coach, you're in Houston, Slim, you're down that way. The things that he went through and the things that he's caused and created by the stuff that he did is following him. Hopefully he can get that resolved. If he doesn't, Cleveland's paid a lot of money for that.
They wouldn't have paid that much money if they didn't think that he didn't do anything.
Charles,
they paying him the money so he can pay some of those suits, I think.
Charles, did you see the release from the front office and ownership with Cleveland when they said we have done our due diligence, we've done our research, and we are satisfied with the outcome. Now, did you also, Slim, the lawyer representing them women in them civil cases,
Yeah.
He says, I was never contacted about and let in and made aware of the Browns' decision to move forward on Deshaun Watson. And had they known what I know, they probably wouldn't have done it.
Come on, man.
Well, Rusty Harden's still representing Deshaun, right? Rusty Harden. If you're outside of Houston, you don't really know Rusty Harden, but we all know Rusty Harden. Any athlete, anybody that gets in trouble, anything that happens in Houston, Rusty Harden is on it, right? I think he's representing it.
Okay.
If memory serves me right, I could be wrong. I know he was initially his lawyer, but Tony Busby is also. Those two guys have gone back and forth. So I think the civil side of it, we don't know what's going to happen. But I think that you're right. When the grand jury does not decide to indict you for criminal, then that allows you to then be in position to do this. So the thing for me, though, is he's going to take a lot of stuff going through this. He'll be protected in Cleveland, but whenever they get outside of Cleveland, man, you know how fans are brutal, and when you've never even done anything, they never accuse you of anything. So he's got to deal with that.
Charles, let me tell you something, bro. He's equipped for it. He's equipped for it, and I'm lifting that brother up. People forget this. I have a good friend. I have a very good friend who was in the front office with the Dallas Cowboys, the director of their college scouting program, a guy by the name of Lionel Vital. Okay. Told me when he was coming out of Clemson, when I asked him, I said, how good is Deshaun Watson? He said, let me tell you something. Deshaun Watson is a Pro Bowler if he runs a 5.4 40, because he can navigate in the pocket. He can throw heated missiles. Yep. He's accurate. Only difference, he runs a 4.5 40.
Yeah. Coach, I covered him in college. I've been around that program because I live in the Carolinas. I've never seen a generational player like that other than Vince when at Texas. Only he was a better thrower than Vince even then. Even with the injuries, when he came back, you don't beat Alabama like he did.
Thank you.
There's some things that he does in the locker room that he's special. Now, I'm just saying there's some off the field stuff. If he can handle that on the field, there's no question in denying how good he is.
And make no mistake about it. You mentioned that Alabama in that national championship game, and I'm getting old, Charles. I can't recall that. That was on that drive when he was taking them down the field. He threw that touchdown pass to that boy Renfro that's with the Raiders now. It was a pick play. I get it. It was a pick. But
Coach, one of the best. Like we talk about Cooper Kupp, Renfro is kind of like that too.
Yeah,
they will break you off. They can run routes really, really well. But go ahead.
But Charles, on that drive, this speaks to Deshaun Watson's toughness. It was a linebacker that ran across his face. Mm-hmm. If the boy hadn't had an 18, 19-inch neck, it might have broke his neck because he ran across his lips and turned him around. And he got up off the ground and took them down the field and scored the winning touchdown.
Yeah,
that's hard.
There's no denying, guys, how tough Deshaun is. And I think Cleveland looked at that. Quincy Avery is his quarterback coach, and he's well coached. He's positioned, and I think Cleveland has been waiting for somebody that can play the position like that for a while. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Baker Mayfield.
Coach,
you brought that.
With Baker Mayfield.
He brought that name up. Now, what advice would you give him?
Find a home and just make plays. Stop doing commercials until you really have set yourself up for success. But what I will say about Baker is he played through a torn labrum on his other side. And Baker is liked to a degree, but I don't think he's liked enough because he hadn't done enough. But Coach, listen to this though. They were 1-31 before he got there. I mean, he's won some games, but I think stop GMing and play. That's what I want to see you do. I want to see you play football instead of tell me who should be on the team and who shouldn't. Whether you love Hugh Jackson or not, the stuff that he did with Hugh was petty. Some of the stuff is petty that he does. I want to see him get away from that and mature and play at a level where you win some playoff games, you get deep in the playoffs, and let your play do the talking.
Charles, when you think of Baker Mayfield, I'm going to give you 2 words. A man you know. Doug Williams. Now, if you work for Doug Williams, and I have twice at Morehouse College and at Grambling. Now, if you work for Doug Williams, you're going to see the film of the game when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when he was with Tampa Bay, played the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. And Slim, you've seen the film. We saw it. Doug, he made us watch it in his office. You're going to watch this film. They playing the Bears, Charles, and Doug dropped back to pass, and Dan Hampton comes from the blind side and knocks the living hell out of him.
I know which play you're talking about. I remember that.
Listen, Doug fumbled the ball. Dan Hampton picks it up, and he's lumbering down the field for a touchdown. Doug got up off the ground and ran him down and tackled him from behind. Now, if you work for Doug Williams, you're going to watch that film many times. He's going to show it to the staff. He's going to show it to the team. My point is this. Doug Williams took Tampa Bay one game from the Super Bowl. Yeah. And Hugh Culverhouse, then the owner, told Doug Williams, take it or leave it when Doug asked for more money. Yeah. And he left it and went to Tulsa to play for the Oklahoma Outlaws.
Yeah.
We know what happened from there. Super Bowl MVP. Baker Mayfield, they don't pay you to be tough. They pay you to be productive. Yeah. Okay?
Yep. Hey,
so
Coach,
you need to shut up and show that you show why he was the first player taken in the draft. Because don't nobody care about all that violin music. I gave this city all I man, please. Don't nobody care about that mess.
Yeah. He has to play and produce. I mean, that's what you have to do in football. If you don't last very long. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if you guys saw that clip. Before I go to that, you just said something about Tampa Bay. Man, remember Ricky Bell? Ricky Bell was a bad boy with them.
Hey, listen. hey, Charles. My homeboy, Leroy Selman from Eufaula, Oklahoma. I have known Leroy, Dewey, and Lucius Selman since I was a 10th grader.
Wow. Yeah, those they had some great teams back then.
How about Jimmy Giles, Alcorn State?
Tight end, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I loved all the tight ends back in the day. Billy Joe Dupree, Benny Cunningham, Raymond Chester, all the brothers. I like Dave Casper. He was tight, but the brothers, Kellen Winslow. When I start watching tight ends, I just like, man, these dudes are cool, and they were big brothers. Like I was a big tough skin wearing cat, and I wanted to tear the tough skins off. I wanted to be a tight end like this.
Charlie
Sanders, yeah, great.
Charles,
yeah,
the draft's on the 26th of April. Who do you like in the draft early? Any trades that you'd like to see made? We're still waiting to see where Teron Armstead's going to go. We're still waiting to see where Tyrann Mathieu is going to end up. There's still some pivotal players out here in this free agency market. So right quick before we let you get out of here, who do you like early in the draft and where to make them better and the trade?
Yeah, if you think about the draft, it's always interesting from the trade perspective because all these teams still have moves and things that they're making. I think those are critical pieces that kind of happen now. I would have to say the big boy out of Georgia after running a 4.78 has to be off the board early. And I'll tell you, Coach, you and I talked about it. I was shocked how poorly he played against Alabama the first time because I saw them leading up. I actually called the Charleston Southern game. I knew they were going to beat Charleston Southern really bad, but I kind of watched all the games leading up to it. And I really thought he was going to perform at a high level against Alabama. He did come back, and they all came back as a team. I will say this, too, that their whole D-line was really strong. So there'll be some other guys, Nakobe Dean. They had – the list was endless, and you'll get this, Coach, and Slim, you will too. What I loved about how they played is that when you watch their linebackers rush, when you have a big body in front of you, you want to create less air as a linebacker, right?
Absolutely.
You don't show any – and see, this is why I love broadcasting because some people don't realize this, but I can tell you and you get it. And when I talk to my boys, they come off with no air, meaning you can't see if you're a running back or anybody trying to pick that blitz up. You come right off of that ass right there. I can just hear my coaches on the defensive side saying that. I don't know if a team did that better than Georgia this year. Alabama, I've seen them in the past, but Georgia did that tremendously well. But you got 300, 330, 300 in front of you. It makes it easy to do that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's a kid that I can see going right off the board early. The quarterback out of Liberty, I saw him, Malik Willis. I like him a lot.
Malik Willis, yes, sir.
I told you, Slim. I told you.
Yeah, okay. All right, we talked about it.
Yeah, and Slim, the good thing is he was in the Auburn system, but now that he's with Hugh Freeze, Hugh has really allowed him to develop and prosper. And I know Coach Freeze from when we were in Arizona together for 2 weeks on the staff. I know he's going to coach him up well. He's raw, but he's got a lot of potential, and his team loves him. So just two guys right off the rip.
So Charles, speaking of Malik, in the draft order, who do you think he falls to? Who is in the market for a quarterback?
Who isn't in the market, right? But the thing is, that's what's so important. I don't know who's going to pick up quarterbacks in this free agency that could change that, right? That's the part for me that I need to see the next few weeks to see if there's any shuffling of that. And that's going to play a critical role to me about where he'll end up going. I mean, quite honestly, because there's still so much movement that's happening right now as we speak with some more, trades and things that are happening.
With the veterans, no question.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, listen, we're going to be tuning in to Chopping It Up with Buck because I know you're going to make it plain.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. I really appreciate it, and we'll do it again soon.
We got to, man. We got to. Hey, I know we can now.
Hey, listen, one last thing. I was talking to Pat Carter, a Florida State long-time NFL guy, and he was saying, hey, man, I coach with Wilbur Montgomery. And I said, my mom used to tell me I think I'm related to Wilbur, so I got to get in touch with him. Any Montgomery, we got to be close. Now, I'll tell you one other kinfolk. All right. Jerry Montgomery that coaches at Green Bay. His uncles and my grandfather and all them are related. So I think he's my second or third cousin. So Big Jerry played at Iowa, played a little bit of pro ball, but he's a Green Bay Packers defensive line coach.
So now, Charles, Wilbert Montgomery, they went to Abilene Christian, the Philadelphia Eagle running back.
That's right.
That's your kinfolk.
I don't know.
He's like, I don't know.
And my mom has said he is. I'm going to reach out to him. We're going to find out where our people are from. But he does have people from Louisiana in that Texas area. So we could be.
All right, there, man.
Get on your
well, kinfolk, we're going to catch up. Man, listen, we're going to continue to listen to Chopping It Up with Buck. Charles, you truly blessed our show. I'm just so glad to have you on, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Charles. Take care, my brother. Wow.
Da-da-da.
Hey, Slim, that's my kinfolk. That's our kinfolk, Slim.
Who knew?
Hey, man, that's our kinfolk.
Who knew?
Well, I tell you what I do know. I know that once again, it's time for Slim's Pickings. Take it away, bro.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
March Madness is upon us. And with that being said, HomeSpun Sports salutes two legendary icons of not only the HBCU basketball world, but the NCAA tournament as a whole. First on the list, Dave the Wiz Whitney, who led his Alcorn State University Braves to the 1980 NCAA basketball tournament with a 28-1 overall record and the perfect 12-0 conference record. The Braves defeated the South Alabama Jaguars 70-62, and in doing so, became the first HBCU to win a game in the NCAA tournament. Next, Ben Jobe. In a coaching career that spanned 6 decades, it was at Southern University where Coach Jobe led the Jaguars to 4 NCAA tournament bids and one NIT berth. In the 1993 NCAA tournament, Coach Jobe led the Jaguars to a 93-78 victory over the ACC champions, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Coach Joe would tell his players, I want you to be Superman on the court and Clark Kent in the classroom. Now, South Carolina State has had 8 NFL draft picks since the year 2000. But all that's about to change with the emergence of Jacoby Durant. At 5'9", 180 pounds, this kid is smooth in his transitions and has an amazing closing to the ball speed. And also, he ran a 4.41 at this year's NFL Combine. Stay tuned, sports fans. And that's Slim's Pickens.
All right now. Slim, man, boy, I tell you what, you took me back a minute with Dave, the Wiz, Whitney, and Ben Job. I knew both of those men well. I was coaching in the SWAC when the Wiz was at Alcorn State. I did not realize until you brought that it was 1980 when the HBCU won its first game in the tournament. And he was the one to do it. Slim, he had a power forward by the name of Larry Mr. Mean Smith. Big joker man, about 6'8", 6'9", weighed about 245, 250. He was Karl Malone before Karl Malone. And man, the Wiz, he was a heck of a coach. Now, Slim, 1988, when I was offensive coordinator at Southern University, man, I would go down the hallway in the mini dome on the campus of Southern University and sit up in Ben Job's office for hours and just glean, just soak it all in, man. That guy could, he could convey. Slim, he could. It didn't make, Ben Job could have coached golf. He could have coached volleyball, bowling. Ben Job was a coach, man. He could convey. And you know what, Slim? And I'm glad you mentioned this part too. That was when he beat Georgia Tech in the NCAA tournament. First thing you know, this, Slim, right now, it's the field of 64. In them days, partner, they didn't invite but 48. Okay?
For real?
You better hear me. And Slim, that year, Georgia Tech was the ACC champion. I mean, Slim, we talking ACC basketball here. North Carolina, Duke, Maryland.
That wasn't no Rudy Boot now team.
That's you, man. The ACC ball. And man, Slim, I watched that boy Jacoby Durant. Yeah, he had a great workout at the Combine. Slim, let me tell you something about Jacoby Durant. When you at an HBCU, and you got aspirations of playing at the next level in the NFL, them scouts want to see what you do when you play the big boys. Slim, he picked off 2 passes when they played Clemson.
When they played in Death Valley, coach.
Come on now. hey, Slim, that's what you're looking for. Yeah. Now, and I'm looking for him, Slim, to go somewhere around between round 4 and round 7. That's what my sources say. But Slim, I gotta ask you this.
Day two guy.
A day 2 guy, no question. But Slim, I gotta ask you this. South Carolina State, Jacoby Durant.
Yeah.
In your mind, who's the best corner to come from an HBCU in the NFL? All time.
I'm gonna have to go with a familiar face, coach, and you know him well. Aeneas Williams.
Anesthesia.
Southern University, baby. Yes, sir.
Anesthesia. I gave him that name. Anesthesia.
You gave him anesthesia, coach?
He would smooth knock your ass out. You hear me? Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah.
Coach.
So why you say that, Snap? Why is he your pick?
Now, Coach, there in the NFL history, there's only been 4 more players before Aeneas Williams that has the most defensive touchdowns in their career.
All right.
Number 1 is Rod Woodson with 12.
All right.
Number 2 is Charles Woodson with 11.
All right.
3, Deron Sharper, also with 11. Aqib Talib with 10. And then Aeneas Williams with 9. And, Coach, before Aeneas Williams, none of those other players went to HBCUs.
You're right. I know you're right about that. He was a very explosive football player. We would be on the other end of the practice field, and all of a sudden, then Slim, you hear, "Walk out!" And one coach would look at us and they walk on and caught another one because he would smooth. That's why Slim. He knocked snot bubbles from your nose. I didn't know he could cover. And if you ever meet him, just walk up to him and say, "Hey, anesthesia." And he goes, "You admit John Montgomery. Nobody ever called me that but John Montgomery." And a first-class man, no question about
it. And it's crazy that you mentioned it, Coach, because as I heard, he was an accounting major. He had no aspirations of even playing football or even going professional.
Walk on.
And by the time he played his fifth game, he was a starter. And by the time he was a senior, he led the nation in interceptions.
See, yeah, no question.
Now, in your opinion, Coach, who is your favorite cornerback, defensive back?
Well, Slim, my heart gets a little caught up in this one because I'm gonna go with the great Willie Brown.
Okay. Grambling
State University's own Willie Brown. Slim, man, how many times, man, have I just had a chance to kick it with that brother, pull his chain on defensive back play, just converse with him and get to know him not only as a player, but as a man. Slim, he could ball. Slim, we talking. He broke in, undrafted, in the AFL to the Denver Broncos. He made the all-time AFL team.
Okay.
He made the 1970 all-decade team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He made the NFL's all-time top 100 team, the anniversary team.
The anniversary team, yeah.
Yes, sir. He's 4-time Pro Bowler and 3-time Super Bowl winner. But more than that, Slim, a first-class man. Yeah. And he loves some Grambling State University. Man, he would come back down there when I was with Doug coaching there. He'd come down there, man, every chance he got and watch practice, coach up those defensive backs. I tell you what, man, Slim, a man's man in every sense of the word. Slim, I still got his phone number. I ain't took his number out of my phone. He died, I think, in 2019.
Now, see, Coach, I thought you were going to say like Lem Barney from Jackson State or my generation, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie from Tennessee State. But, okay. I'm just dating myself.
And you got to throw in the great Mel Blount as well. Southern University's Mel Blount. But that's exactly. Good. That's a good list. No question.
Now, speaking of NFL, Coach, in the AFC, Kansas City got Patrick Mahomes. Denver Broncos, like we said, with Charles Arbuckle, newly acquired Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert, Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr. But now he's got Devontae Adams. What's your take?
Well, the AFC West is an arms race. It's a nuclear arms race. There's some big-time gunslingers out there. And, Derek Carr would probably be considered the least of those four. But now, hey, he got the best wideout in the NFL. He got Devontae Adams. So stay tuned on that one. No question.
Exactly. AFC North, Coach. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Baltimore, our boy Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Cleveland, newly acquired Deshaun Watson.
Uh-huh.
Pittsburgh, Mitch Trubisky. Are you buying that?
Hell no. I ain't buying that. And I don't think Mike Tomlin's buying it either, Slim. If you sitting there with Mitch Trubisky, who couldn't play in Chicago, okay? Now, he redshirted last year, studied up under Josh Allen at Buffalo, and now he's with Pittsburgh. My big thing, and Charles Arbuckle brought it up when we had him on, this boy, it's no secret, and it's going to even be more clear as we get closer to April the 28th, the first night of the draft. This boy, Malik Willis from Liberty, is the class of the NFL quarterback, of the draft picks. He's the class of the draft picks. So if you're sitting there and you Pittsburgh and you got Mitch Trubisky, let's go down this draft order right quick. We know Jacksonville ain't in the quarterback market. They got Trevor Lawrence.
They got Trevor Lawrence.
But if
pick 2 goes to Detroit,
and 3 and 13 Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. Because now the whole thing is that Pittsburgh, you got pick 20 and you got Mitch Trubisky. What do? Do you move up? Do you trade? What do you
Hell yeah, you got to move up. But here's the thing. Is Malik Willis worthy of the second pick in the draft? Because I tell you this much, and David Culley is coming on our show. I had a chance to visit with him on numerous occasions. David Culley told me from his own mouth, with the third pick, you got Houston. And David Culley felt like that you can win with Davis Mills. And I'll tell you something, Slim, I think you can win with Davis Mills. And Houston got too many issues with the third pick to have to spend it on a quarterback. Okay? Yep. So if you look at, and you got the Jets with 4, they got Zach Wilson. They ain't in the quarterback market. You got the Giants with 5. They're committed to Daniel Jones.
Sir
okay?
Daniel. Yes,
so
sir.
if you're sitting there in your Pittsburgh, and I'm at Carolina with the 6th pick, and I'm sitting there with Sam will throw an interception in a heartbeat, Darnold. I will this time I start smelling Malik Willis right about time with the 6th pick. And I'm gonna tell you something. If I'm Pittsburgh, partner, I'm thinking about
moving up. Moving on up.
Hear me. Yeah, no question.
Now, Coach, the best pass rushers last season in the NFC have now moved to the AFC. Randy Gregory, Dallas, is now in Denver. Von Miller, Rams, is now in Buffalo. Chandler Jones, Arizona, is now in Las Vegas. And Khalil Mack, Chicago, is now in Los Angeles. What's your take? He's with the Chargers.
Well, Slim, the 4 best pass rushers in the National Football League were in the NFC last year, not in the AFC. Bottom line.
Yeah.
We talked about the quarterback situation. All right. Mm-hmm. The vast wealth of talent. And now the 4 bit in the AFC, the field is being tilted. Slim is being tilted. So wow, man. When you talk about the transfer of talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with those pass rushers, the number one way you win in football affect the
passer.
Affect the quarterback. No question. So that bears watching close. That's a good observation. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Pops, last thing in the NFL, in your opinion, what bad team through trades and free agency is positioning itself to be good in 2022? Who are you excited for?
Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's an easy call. And that's an easy call. Yeah, Slim, think about it.
Why is that, Coach?
Well, look what they've done so far. Cam Robinson, that left tackle, they hung the franchise tag on him.
Yep, from Alabama.
Okay.
Yep.
Then they went out and they signed a future Hall of Famer in that guard from Washington that they brought from free agency, Brandon Scherff.
Okay? Yeah, from Washington. Yep.
All right, let me tell you something. Brandon Scherff is a Hall of Famer in waiting. If he stays healthy, he's had a few injury issues, but he was clearly a guard. Teron Armstead still out there at tackle, but guard in free agency, it's a no-brainer who the best was, and they landed him. The other big thing they did, they went out and got 2 very good offensive weapons for Trevor Lawrence. They got that boy Christian Kirk from Texas A&M. Those at Arizona. There you go. And they went out and got that tight end from Ole Miss that was with the Giants.
Evan Ingram.
Yeah,
first-round draft pick, Coach.
Huh?
He was a first-round draft pick.
You mighty right. He was a first-round pick coming out of Ole Miss. And so they have put together some I tell you what, Slim, Jacksonville spent so much money in free agency, they could no longer afford Miles Jack. And Miles Jack's a hell of a player. And he ain't going to do nothing but help Pittsburgh. And that Pittsburgh acquiring Miles Jack is going to give them a player similar to what they had in that Ryan Shazier kid that that was the unfortunate tragedy of his injury that ended his career. Yeah, but he's a player in that same mold. But there's no question. And now, and Jacksonville, better not too slim now. That Jacksonville, if they go tackle in the draft, you got that boy from NC State, Icky something with that the African kid, the left tackle from NC State, or you got the Neal kid from Alabama. And
we'll have pictures of both.
If they go offensive tackle. If not, they're probably going to go edge rusher and take the Hutchinson kid from Michigan. But and Jacksonville has the first pick. And the other thing, Slim, that you got to factor in about Jacksonville that's going to facilitate their success, they're in the AFC South. So who are you talking? You talking Tennessee?
They can't finish.
They can't finish. You talking Houston?
It's going to be a minute.
And you talking Indianapolis Colts, who ain't
got a quarterback.
So if you're sitting there in your Jacksonville, boy, you thinking, man, hey, we can make a run at this thing and be in it in 2022. No, and I look for them to do that, Slim.
They also playing with 39 million in cap space, Coach, so they can get a couple more kids.
Yeah.
But hey, Coach, it was a pleasure being in the studio with you again, man. What a treat having Charles Arbuckle on the show.
Oh, man. Yeah, man. A pro in every sense of the word. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to be tuning in to Chopping It Up with Buck.
Yeah. Tell Mom I love her, all right?
Man, I'll be sure to do that. Give my love to everybody in Oklahoma City.
Will do, Coach.
Take care, buddy. And finally, 2 quarterbacks. Tom Brady, 44. Born August the 3rd. Aaron Rodgers, 38. Born December the 2nd. Tom Brady making $25 million a year. Aaron Rodgers making $50,277,366 a year. Tom Brady got 7 rings. Aaron Rodgers got 1 ring. Tom Brady led the NFL last year with 43 touchdown passes for 5,316 yards. And Tom Brady came back to play in the 2022 season because he could. Aaron Rodgers came back to Green Bay to get paid. And that's why Devontae Adams left. Now, I'll tell you what you do, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. When you make $50 million a year, you do what Tom Brady has done throughout his career. No matter the talent level, he elevated the huddle. He elevated the team. Now, Aaron Rodgers, with your $50 million a year salary, tell you what you do. You elevate this team. And hey, that's how I see it. 6 o'clock, straight up and down.
And that's how we see it, and that's how it is.
You better believe it.
Thank God we get to do this again.
Thank God.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to this week's episode of HomeSpun Sports. Sports talk with a twist of down-home wisdom. Thank you so much to Mr. Charles Arbuckle for being a part of our special guest, for being a part of our show today. Episode 28, it was a pleasure having you on today, sir. We appreciate it, and we look forward to a long, healthy relationship with you in the future. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch this episode not only on YouTube, but iHeartRadio and Spotify for your listening and viewing pleasure as well. You know, it's been a pleasure, Coach.
Slim!
What's up, man?
You know why the Indian rain dance always works?
No, Coach. Why does the Indian rain dance always work?
Because they don't quit dancing until it rains.
So what you're saying is, eyes haven't seen,
You heard me.
ears haven't heard,
Come
nor
on,
has it
preacher.
entered into the heart of man.
Good God Almighty, talk to me, boy. Slim, man, let's get on
What's
up
up?
out of here.
What he said.
Man. Well, all right then. All right.